Good afternoon, everyone. You guys everyone's enjoyed their Memorial Day weekend. Good. Today I want to talk about, I was mainly dealing with, this is really just only dealing for those that live in Ohio. That has to deal with the random selection of proof of insurance. O.R.C. 4509.101 is the law at hand. Which you guys don't realize, most people don't realize when you sign for your registration or for your license plates here in Ohio. Well, first off, most people probably like, okay, so what? You got to have insurance. You're right. You do have to have insurance. And I fully agree with this. I mean, I've dealt with a couple other states as well when it comes to insurances. And you have to show proof of insurance before you can get registration, tags, or renew your license. And they do it, and they check it right there, right then and there. But here in Ohio, here's how it works. They ask you if you have insurance, proof of insurance. You say yes, they say sign. Have a good day. They don't, because of the random selection thing, they don't check to make sure you have insurance. I want everyone to understand that. But I also want everyone to understand when you sign paper that they ask you to sign, you have committed and agreed to a contract. You know, and I've been amazed, how many people doesn't know about this law, which has been in effect since 1998. This law has been in effect. It's been revised. Last revision was in 2014 that I've found. I've been driving since I was 16, a little bit before I was 16 because, temporary tags, driving school, so I was driving around probably I think it started this in November, so I had my permit before I was even 16. But every vehicle that I've ever owned or driven, I've been insured under. Never argued this fact. I think it's very important to have the insurance or have a security bond set up with over $30,000, which is liability, $5,000 more than the minimum liability here in Ohio we can have covered. So I finally got selected, which, cool, not a problem, because my interpretation, understanding was when you're not driving a vehicle, if it's broke down, you can drop the insurance. And many people do. Like I said, I've talked to almost over 100 people, and that's not counting the 30 mechanics I talked to. I mean, the mechanics, they all know the law just because, people get caught up and come in try to get the exemption. Okay, not a problem. We'll get more into that here in a little bit. And I'll recite some of the law here in a little bit too. Randomly selected. My truck's been down for a month. A little over a month, actually. I'm not working, so I can't afford to pay an insurance on a vehicle that's not working. We end up towing it back ourselves, so there's no tow receipt. Like I've tried to explain. I grew up in the garage, worked on cars, engines, dirt track race car engines. My dad's the same way. Most of my uncles and cousins are all the same way. We are our own mechanics. We only take something to the garage unless we absolutely have to because we can't fix it, which is mostly, dealing with newer cars and all the electronic crap that's in them. So, I'm just was in a situation with trucks down. I'm insured to drive any vehicle on this property. But since I own that one, I am responsible for the insurance on it. Now, what I didn't know is that you can't drop the insurance on it at all. If you cancel the insurance, you have to contact the DMV. Is it inoperable? Or you have to cancel your plates. I don't know where they're coming up with that, because what I've signed doesn't state anything about plates, but that's what they're telling me. You have to cancel your plates. Something that people are like, well, that's common sense. Well, here in Ohio, when we buy our plates, we can keep our plates. Means if my car breaks down, I've got another vehicle, I can just transfer my plates to that one, no matter if it's a car or a truck. And like I said, that's all they ask if you have proof of insurance. Which if I'm doing that, I'm transferring the insurance over to the vehicle as well. It's funny how this works, because the more people I talk to, the more people don't know that they've signed a contract, that they don't realize that their cars broke down. In fact, I talked to a couple mechanics that had cars in there that they owned that were broke down with plates on it that they had no insurance. They didn't even know. And here's one more funny thing for you. If you think that that's bad, Allstate Insurance didn't even know about this. And then we'll get into the mechanics as well. All the mechanics I talked to, well, first we got to get a little bit of the law. Because there's some exemptions you could fall under. Except for the DMV isn't recognizing the exemptions. So basically I was told I was screwed. From 30 different mechanics who've done it. I'll show you the law right here. It's in, you guys need to read this whole law. The link's in the description. It's a subsection of it. I'll point out. It's up. 4501.1 through 208, random selection of suspension procedure. We want subsection B. The owner may submit evidence to show that the vehicle subject to the registrar's notice is exempt because the vehicle is leased, the vehicle is used on a seasonal basis only, and the date selected by the registrar is out of season for that vehicle. The vehicle is inoperable or has been out of service for a period of at least 30 days, or the vehicle is exempt for any other reason the registrar may prescribe. The evidence shall be sufficient to show that there is good cause to believe that the operated in violation of section 4509.101 of the revised code or was otherwise exempt. Now, what I have come to find, talking to these mechanics, that they could say that's inoperable. They don't have a problem with that. The problem is the DMV is not recognizing it. Each mechanic stated this. They just said this. Don't make sense having it towed here, bringing it here, because I'll put it in writing. Oh, mind you, it has to be an SE certified mechanic. But basically, it doesn't matter because they can't prove that it's been inoperable since the date of this letter, which would have been, for me, the 17th, or it hasn't been inoperable for 30 days. They can't prove it unless they've actually had worked on it for them to say, oh yeah, it was. So they're actually not following the law, because all they have, as it states, this vehicle is inoperable or has been. If it's currently inoperable, you can drop your insurance. And mind you, I've read through this thing up and down. I've read through when I registered my vehicle, I read through that. Nowhere does it state that you have to cancel your plates. Nowhere. But that's what they state. they said it's law. You have to cancel your plates or be able to plates if you're dropping as soon as if you drop your insurance coverage. Now, like I said, I have an issue with that. Because it just seems like it's more and more of a scam, and it turns out this is one big scam. Even these 30 mechanics just in my area all said the same thing. When you can't, when you abide by the law, then it gets even better though. Because now, what happens is, now I have to wait for my second notice, which is a notification of suspension of license and forfeiture of vehicle or plates, unless I get an FR bond, which is $150. So mind you, it's a fine, but they call it, you got to pay for a bond. It's still a fine. And the classical sense of the terminology of law. Then have to go to an insurance company, get insurance, and show them the FR bond, the FR coverage, and they notify the DMV that you have paid, that you have the FR bond, and that you are now insured. Failure to do any of this and losing your license, possibility of ending up in court and have to pay for the court costs, suspension of your license up to 6 months to a year on your first offense, and possibility hand over your license plate, the forfeiture, confiscation of your plates and vehicle. Like I said, I've talked to a lot of people, just random people, even family. Nobody knows of this law. Oh, yeah, it can be randomly selected, but they don't know that here, practice the law. Practice the concept. If my vehicle breaks down, I'm dropping the insurance, or if I'm leaving it set for the, they want you to prove proof of everything. Like I said, I mentioned Allstate Insurance. A mechanic that I had talked to had, like I said, had a vehicle set on his property. Well, he's like, well, damn, I don't have insurance. I didn't even know about this law. And he's been driving his whole life. Commercial air pilot. I mean, that's, now a mechanic runs a business as a mechanic. Deals with cars every day. He's got an old car set on a lot that it broke down. He just haven't had time to fix it, so he just dropped the insurance on it. So I talked to him because I went to him about the certification as well. Kind of personally know him. He's like, oh shit, I didn't know that. I've got my car sitting out here. So he looked into it. He ended up having to come out here yesterday. My sister's Jeep broke down, or wouldn't start. So we got to talking about it. He said, well, I went to Allstate, told them about it. They didn't even know about it. Well, I asked him, well, is there a type of, like a storage insurance I can get for it? They're like, yeah, I guess. I mean, they didn't even know. And truthfully, I won't know until later. Conveniently, the DMV is having technical phone issues today, so you can't get through. But I don't even know if the storage insurance will work because they didn't even know. But it will work if they abide by the law. But as I pointed out, they don't. Every mechanic that is an ASC certified that has done this, and this is 30 mechanics that I talked to, thing. And most of them didn't even know about the law until the first person that was randomly selected came to them. I mean, I knew about random selection, but I didn't know all of it, Then, then the guy at the DMV is like, well, you signed it. You agreed to it. It's there, written form. Well, actually, it's not. Nowhere does it state that I had to cancel my license plate. I mean, that's why I said, I mean, I don't know why most people don't have time to sit here and go through, a whole list of insurance. Go through a whole list of laws and read them. We just don't have time. I had time just when I'm not working and looking for jobs. Like I said, the whole time I haven't been driving, I've never been randomly selected. So, plus the fact that I don't always live in the state of Ohio. I haven't always lived here, so I just go by what I know, what I've always known, we've always done with our vehicles. State of Ohio Bureau of Motor Vehicle Certification and Registration. In Ohio, it is illegal to drive any motor vehicle without insurance or financial responsibility, which is DFR coverage. It is also illegal for any motor vehicle owner to allow anyone else to drive insurance without insurance. Proof of insurance or FR coverage is required whenever a police officer issues a traffic ticket. At all vehicle inspection stops, upon traffic court appearances, upon random checks by the Registry of Motor Vehicles. And that's what you agreed to when you signed this. Any driver or owner who fails to show proof of insurance or other coverage will lose his or her driver's license until requirements are met on first offense. 1 year on the second offense. Okay, this is just until you pay the fine, which is $150 for the coverage. And 2 years on third and subsequent offenses. Lose his or her license plates and vehicle registrations. Payment reinstatement of $100 on first offense, $300 for second offense, and $600 for third and subsequent offense. Pay a $50 penalty for any failure to surrender his or her driver's license plates, or registration, and be required to maintain a special FR coverage high-risk insurance or equivalent on file with the Bureau of Motor Vehicles for 5 years. Once the suspension is in effect, any driver or owner who violates suspension will have his or her vehicles and his or her license plates confiscated for at least 30 days first offense, 60 days second offense. Subsequent offense, the vehicle will be forfeited and sold, and the person will not be permitted to register any motor vehicle in Ohio for 5 years. If you are involved in an accident without insurance or other FR coverage, in addition to all penalties listed above, you may have suspension for 2 years or more and a judgment suspension indefinitely until all damage has been satisfied. These penalties are in addition to any fines. Prevent the possibility that you may be involved in an accident with a person who has no insurance or other FR coverage. Proof of coverage may be shown by any of the following. See? Showing automobile liability insurance of at least $25,000 in Ohio. This is just for Ohio, guys. I stated that. Bodily injury per person, $50,000. Injury to or more persons, and $25,000 property damage. And insurance, same coverage, a security bond of $30,000 issued by an authorized surety company or insurance company, a BMV bond secured by real estate having equity of at least $60,000, a BMV certificate for money or government bonds in the amount of $30,000 on deposit with the Ohio Treasurer of State, a BMV certificate of self-insurance available only to companies or persons who at least 26 motor vehicles. Proof of financial responsibility. I affirm that all owners or leased or leases of leased vehicles now have insurance or FR coverage and will not operate or permit the operation of this motor vehicle with FR coverage. All provisions registration fees due have been paid. The plate category is correct, and the vehicle is not used as a commercial or farm vehicle unless so registered. Signature. Warning, applicants giving false information is subject to persecution. O.R.C. Section 291.13. Application must be signed by the owners named on the certificate card. This is your vehicle's registration certificate. Once you sign this, you've agreed to all the laws in place. Even the ones that you don't know about that they say are there. Having to license plate, but nowhere on here it says that. And on here, it only states vehicles that you are operating. The vehicle is not operating. Does not say you have to cancel your insurance. Doesn't say you have to cancel your plates. So if you cancel your insurance, why do I got to cancel my plate? It says operation. If I drive that vehicle, I have to have insurance. I am not against having insurance. I think it should be mandatory. I think it should be like almost every other state. When you go in there to register a vehicle, renew your plates, get your driver's license, you have to show proof of insurance, and they have to look it up before. And they say this is random. My dad's been randomly selected 3 times. I had to get, so I hit the guy, well, this is kind of, where you can't be charged with the same crime more than once. And he goes, oh, you only get, this only happened once. That's BS. My dad went down here and said it happened to him. He's had it happen to him 3 times. I mean, go looking around. I've talked to people. It's had it happen 5 times. There's no randomness about it. But that was, that's for your vehicle. That's what you signed. Let me find the other one for citing. Ohio Bureau of Motor Vehicles. You will lose your driver's license if you drive without insurance or other acceptable financial responsibility coverage. Get your plates. In Ohio, it's illegal to drive any motor vehicle without insurance, financial responsibility. Basically, it's the same thing I just read off the other one. Now here's the fine print point of the section. Sign below detached bottom portion for DMV records. For your records, always get a copy of everything. The only thing with these copies is your signature's not on it. They keep the signature one on their file. Basically, it's the same thing as above, as I just read. Nothing changed. If applying for a driver's license or permit, I affirm that I now have insurance or other financial responsibility coverage, and that I will not operate any motor vehicle without FR coverage. Received an FR coverage notice. If registering a motor vehicle, I affirm that all owners or leases or leased vehicles now have insurance or other FR coverage and will not operate or permit the opposite motor vehicle without FR coverage. What they are getting people on is the fact that and around with plates still on them. They're not drivable, not being drivable, but they can't prove it. Now they'll say, well, if you buy a part, and I've had mechanics tell me they don't even go, they deny even that. He's like, I could order the part that needs to fix your truck right now that proves it's been inoperable. Can't prove it was inoperable when you drop the coverage, so therefore they deny the claim. This is from 30 mechanics saying the same thing, saying I'm wasting my time. You just got to pay the $150 and be done with it. Then, since I'm not going to drive it, why am I going to keep insurance on the vehicle? So now, according to them, I have to cancel my plates. So I'll go cancel my plates. Then I got to pay a reinstatement fee when I get the vehicle fixed. It's all about money. It's one big, and they even say it's just one big scam, because they know most people can't afford the taking the, and most people don't even know better. You know, and they say they deal with those mechanics that, man, we get people coming in here every day about this that have been randomly selected. And, you know, like I said, I knew, everybody knows you have to have insurance. We're not arguing that fact. In fact, we agree with that fact. Everybody should have insurance on the vehicle they drive. And as everything I've stated, you heard me use the words. If you are driving it, not if you're not. If you're not driving it, nowhere does it state it has to be insured, not even in this revised law. What they're getting you at, you signed when you registered the vehicle, therefore that vehicle now has to have insurance. Doesn't state that anywhere in the law. Doesn't state that on anything you signed. Because it says when you drive the vehicle, it has to be insured. It does not say when it's setting, it has to be insured. You know, like I said, they're not following the law, as I pointed out in this section of the revised section of this law. They should be able to write saying that the vehicle is inoperable, document it at that time. But when they do that, they say that's not sufficient because it doesn't prove it's been inoperable since they dropped the insurance. That's what they're being told. Most mechanics won't even, they don't even do it. They just tell you flat out, like these 30 guys that they just told me. It's like, oh, you signed, you know, and they get you. That's how they get you. You signed a contract. Well, I've read you all the fine print. I've read you the revised law section about it. I've argued up and down with the DMV about it. And either way, there's nothing I can do until I receive my notification of suspension. You know, basically they want you, you know, it's no different. They want you paying for something. They want your money. That's what it boils down to. It really is. Bottom line is everybody should have insurance. It should be just like any other state you go to. You have to provide proof before you even get your license plates or your driver's license or register your vehicle. You know, and here's the funny thing is, I know North Carolina will not recognize Ohio insurance. You have to get insurance that out of North Carolina or a state that recognizes North Carolina as insurance. And you're going to find with a lot of Ohio's laws, most states don't recognize Ohio's laws. They deem them as unconstitutional. It's like what they call the new law for people that get convicted of felonies and go to prison. It is a policy and law that the FBI constitutional, but Ohio is now using it because it traps people in the state that may be from other states because the other states don't recognize the PRC part. Not even the Supreme Court recognizes the PRC part. If you do your full time and get out, there's no you did your time. There's not supposed to be probation. But this is how they keep to. And you have to wait. And there's countless cases. Supreme Court hears cases every day on this in rules and releases people. But 6 months to a year before the case is heard in the Supreme Court. And if they end up screwing up, they end up getting sent back. And they're not even supposed to be on probation because it's an unconstitutional act, but Ohio does not change the law. I mean, the feds, why they got rid of the system. And it seems like many of Ohio's laws, you start finding this. Like I said, the prison, I've done videos on that. Prison system is $1 billion industry. System, justice system. They all bring them money. Once you, because you are a number. Once you go, for even for misdemeanors, once you hit the county, the state pays the county. They get money for each person locked up. More on the degree of the felony. If it becomes a felony, you go to prison, they get even more money. Iowa ranks in the top 3 in prisons in the world. In the world. And but yet the ones that should be in prison are these corrupt politicians who are running scams, taking advantage of us, passing laws, updating laws, and making you work, going after those that aren't working or they know that can't afford these cases in court. Like I said, this random selection of proof of insurance, even from 30 different mechanics, and I will be turning all this evidence over to our new local news companies, along with 100 people that they didn't know. 100 random, that's random selection, walking up in the store asking people questions that didn't know about this. Doesn't know they have to cancel their plates. Even know this law existed to this day, and it's been around since '98. You know, I mean, if we want to get into the constitutional aspects of it, and I can show you case documents after case document where court cases have been won, you don't have to have a driver's license. Public road, public transportation, you don't have to own a driver's license. I know people that sworn it, but you end up spending 6 months in the county fighting it. You know, there's 6 months of your life you can't get back. Because what ends up happening, the judge throws it out because they know it's unconstitutional. You're right. But a couple months later, some cop will pull that guy over again, and he'll be right back doing the same thing. It means it's important to know your constitutional rights. It's important to read laws. I mean, this one ain't that bad. There's worse out there when it comes to page-wise reading how many pages there is. I mean, we get a little bit ridiculous on these laws with subsections. I mean, most people don't got time to click on all these subsections and read the whole damn thing when it's over 1,000 pages. No more than 30 pages, I'd say about 20, if that, including all the subsections. Most people don't have time to read this. Or they just get lucky and they'll get caught for a vehicle they got just setting with plates on, but they don't know that they had to cancel the plates. But like again, I read this whole damn thing. Nowhere does it state we have to cancel our license plates. In fact, I've read you both my documents that I've signed that I've agreed to. Those are binding contracts. According to the DMV, it said if I drive that vehicle, it has to be insured. But I'm not working, obviously. If I was working, the truck would be insured and be on the road right now. Common sense. If I was working, I'd actually be able to afford to pay the court in front of it. It'd be fun to see 100 people, random people that I've done interviews who agreed if I ever do go to court with this, they would testify. But they didn't even know this law. Mechanics that agree would do the same thing because they said it's not right. So, I mean, it falls down to, guys, even I preach print, but I did read the fine print. I didn't read it where I signed it because it's an office of trust. When you tell me to sign, and I got proof of insurance, and that's all you're asking, I'm signing. You violated my trust. The DMV is an office. The DMV is part of the government, therefore it's a part of an office of trust. They violated our trust. This random selection of proof of insurance is not so much random as I can see it, but you can't prove it. Because it states even I have the right to request how they went about selecting my vehicle, my name, or my license plate. They have to provide proof of the random selection. It's in the law. Talk to people who've lived in Ohio for their whole life. They still don't even know about this law. It's the part about having insurance isn't. If you're driving a vehicle, you have to have insurance. That's not ridiculous. I'm all for people having to have insurance. It protects me, it protects you. We're involved in an accident. And once again, I guess I'm going to be ending the stream because I just watched it. I just watched my computer Hangouts freeze up. I've been having issues with YouTube and Google and Hangouts here of late on certain subjects crashing, freezing up, saying my computer when I sleep, but everything in the background's working. Like I say, guys, research it. You need spread the word, especially everybody that lives in Ohio. There's people out there that don't know. It amazed me. I thought, okay, it's just me. I didn't know. Well, it just did. And I was really mad at myself for not reading, the fine print from our Office of Trust. Now, but the more I started getting into it, the more then I went to my truck, pulled out all my paperwork. Like, what the hell? Nowhere does what they're telling me states in the paperwork that I signed. And come to find out, a bunch of people I've talked to, they've got vehicles that are stuck with their plates. Because like I said, in Ohio, we can keep our plates. We can transfer them to another vehicle. So, you guys can be a judge of yourself, but hey, talk to people around you, inform them. Information. I'm going to take this a few steps further with this one. They got the wrong guy. Eventually, I will get another job and build up some money. Then I'm going to go around with the evidence I already got. I'm going to get 100 signatures. All you need in the state of Ohio is 100 signatures to take a court back to law changed through the court process. And we're going to go after that. And I'm going to have, like I said, I'm going to enjoy marching. The judge lets me until the court gets to the point that then on top of that, nobody knows of this law. Of course, as they say, there's no excuse for ignorance to a law. The laws are posted. You have the right to go and go read these laws. In fact, they say it's your dual diligence to read these laws and know them. I told people that. I had a judge tell my dad that, and the worst part of it was, I think it was one of my family brothers. I think it was my brother. It might have been me. The probation officer didn't even know the law that he told my dad he broke. Because a minor, parents are responsible. It was back in the 90s they were. And it's pretty sad when the probation officer didn't even know the law. This is how Ohio's law system is. It's designed to get you in the system and keep you. And the very few that get out of the system are just lucky. As I've stated in other videos I've done, it's a scheme. It's a scam. It's meant to keep you enslaved in debt to a system. Working so many hours, over 40 plus a second job, just trying to put food on the table, pay for medical bills, expenses, insurance. And you have to work 2 jobs. You don't have time to go search laws and everything. Most of the time you're getting home and all you want to do is eat, shower, and go to bed. That's how the system has become. They don't want you spending time with your kids. They don't want you to know what your kids are learning in school. And they're doing everything to keep us enslaved to a system. They want you working more hours, so you got less time with your family and kids. So you got less time to do research on news. It's a very corrupt system that we are dealing with. So later today, if the DMV ever gets their phone lines open back up, I'm going to call, find out what I have to do for this FR bond, anything until I receive my notification of suspension. Like I said, It's BS that I have to keep a vehicle insured that is not being driven. Even by everything I've read, it states only vehicles that are being driven. And as a mechanic, if I'm telling you it's not being driven, why it's not being driven, you shouldn't need a certified mechanic. But it does state that in the law, you have to have a certified mechanic. I did find that. They're forcing you to keep paying shit money that you don't have, so you can't come around and fight these things when you know they're illegal or they're scams, monopolies, monopolizing on. They're basically monopolizing on the fact you can't afford to fight them. And if you get enough money built up, they'll drag it out to where you're broke and can't afford to continue it. That's our legal system, and that's in every state. Now, it's time we start informing people. That's why I just did this video. Like I said, I'm not done with this. I'm going farther with it, and I will keep updating this as I do. Like I said, I'm going to sit down with a couple of certified mechanics that agreed to talk to me on camera. And I'm going to turn this all over to our local news. Because there's just too many people. I mean, what's the chances? 100 random people in town just bumped into, started talking, asking questions, didn't know about this law. It amazed me. You know, I haven't found a person that did. I mean, mechanics, yeah, we know about it, but and all had actually knew about it. And he said the reason every one of them said that they learned because somebody came in. One guy actually knew about it. Was surprising, but it's like he said, I wasn't in the state when that law got passed. So I didn't know. I've always had, why would I care? A car, you have to have insurance. You're driving it, not if it's setting. I've always watched my grandfather, my uncles, they have vehicles that they're not driving. They still have plates on them. They're not insured because they're not driving them. It goes back. They want you to keep paying to a system, keeping you in debt and enslaved to a system. That way it's basically, it's a form of oppression. But, like I said, I will update and keep you guys notified with the future outcomes. As of right now, I'm stuck paying $150, which actually going to be more than $150 because then I got to renew the insurance. Then I'm going to have to go cancel the plates, which nowhere does it state anything that I sign that I have to cancel my plates. It's a joke. But then when I finally get working, get the parts I need to replace to get the vehicle fixed so it can be driven, then I'll have to reinstate my plates. So we're talking about I'm going to end up forking over close to, I drive a truck, but I have to redo the registration of plates, which is almost $120. So when it's all said and done, I'll be forking over close to $300 for my stuff at the end of the year as loss. So it's $500 when it's all said and done. Because I'm following the law. Which I was following the law because I read it. I'll give you the link. You guys can read it for yourself. I mean, what can you do? The only thing I can do is inform you guys because apparently, like I said, I was amazed. I thought it was, I'm not so much mad at myself anymore because even after reading the fine print and everything, it doesn't state what they're stating. And I don't feel so bad when I've had mechanics tell me they got vehicles and they didn't even know about it, and then find out an insurance company didn't even know about it. Ohio, that insures Ohio motorists. So it leaves the question. Of course, I'm also going to ask about the storage insurance if they actually accept that. Because I mean, to me, that's like seasonal. But then again, even on that, according to the DMV, you have to have proof. Cool. is stored seasonal if you just happen to get be random selected at that time. Like I said, 30 to some days ago, I'd have been insured. The truck would have been insured. Broke down. I'm not working. I had pretty cheap insurance. When you're not working, you can't even afford $30 a month. So, time to, definitely, for those of you who know how, share this with other people. Make sure if you've got a vehicle setting, you go cancel the plates. Even though, like I said, that's what they're telling us to do. I haven't found it written in law yet where it says that. And I read all the revised sections. I mean, but laws change every day without notification. It's supposed to be our due diligence to keep up in check. Judges will tell you there's no ignorance to law here in the state of Ohio. But I thought I'd get this announcement out to you guys because I don't know. Some of you may actually know about this law. Some of you might have known about it because you found out the hard way. But definitely share this to the people in Ohio that you know. Make sure they're informed. And like I said, I will update as I proceed further with this. So, like I said, I'm not working, so I'll be doing some things together to take to the local news agency on top of what I already got. Then we'll proceed from there, and I'll give you an update when I do. Hope you guys enjoyed. Be safe. Have a good have a good week. What's left of it, and I will see you on the next broadcast.